And some elected officials gathering to show their support for question number 4. It's aimed at providing regulated access to natural psychedelic therapy for those that are struggling with mental health issues.
Western Mass News reporter Taylor Smith joins us live in the studio with more. Taylor.
That's right, Amanda and David. Elected officials from across the Commonwealth, including Senator Adam Gomez and East Hampton Mayor Nicole LaChapelle, have come together to advocate for Question 4, a measure proposed by Massachusetts lawmakers regarding mental health treatment. Now, these officials see it as a way to help people suffering from mental health challenges, including veterans with PTSD and patients facing various forms of anxiety or depression. Research from institutions like Johns Hopkins and Mass General show that this natural psychedelic therapy could be a life-saving treatment for those who are struggling. At a press conference this morning, we'll hear from state officials sharing their insights and support for Question 4 on the November ballot. These psychedelics would be administered under the supervision and guidance of a trained licensed professional at regulated therapy centers. And if this question passes, retail sales of the medication would not be permitted. Now, that meeting taking place later this morning is happening on the steps of the Massachusetts State House at 10:30 a.m. For now, reporting live in the studio this morning, Taylor Smith, Western Mass News.